Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter @Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio t-shirts are available at t-shirt.greatdetectives.net. Pick up your t-shirt at t-shirt.greatdetectives.net. We have the regular premium tees. We also have women's slim fit tees, youth tees, and tanks, as well as our hoodies still available, t-shirt.greatdetectives.net. All right, well, now it's time for today's episode of Airmail Mystery. We do have a missing episode here, so we're going to bring you episodes 8 and 9. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
If you enjoy the romance and thrill of flying the airmail, you will enjoy following the story which we unfold for you now. During the past few weeks, Transamerican Airlines have been losing their latest high-speed airmail planes under very mysterious circumstances. Miss Irene Delroy and Sergeant Fitzgerald have been detailed by the Department of Justice to discover the identity of parties responsible for the wrecking and robbing of the mail planes. Jimmy Gifford, roving newspaper reporter, is assisting Miss Delroy and Fitzgerald. They feel they are about to apprehend the guilty party when a fourth ship is robbed, and the pilot, Andy Andrews, is found dead at the controls. Investigation discloses that Andrews has been shot at close quarters, and as the trio are concluding investigation of his death, a strange airplane roars by overhead.
Look! It's the autogyro, ma'am. That's the way the mail thieves get out of this canyon. A windmill plane.
Right you are, Sergeant. There's your answer, Miss Delroy. Whoever killed Andrews and robbed his plane used an autogyro to get out of the canyon.
Not so loud, Jimmy. We don't want Powers to know Andrews has been killed. Did you get the numbers on that ship, Fitz?
No, ma'am. There was no numbers on it. Guess they'd been painted out. But that's the ship we're after, all right.
We haven't a ghost of a chance to find it now. Or they can set that plane down in any one of these canyons. Cover it up with some brush, and it'll take an aerial bird dog to find it.
I'm afraid you're right, Jimmy. But we're not going to let that stop us. Right now, Sergeant, let's get Mr. Powers and start back to Metropolitan Airport.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few telephone calls I want to make. There's nothing else to do here.
Powers is waiting in his car over on the road. He looks worried, ma'am.
You know, somehow I don't trust that fellow Powers. He's too cool, too crafty. There's something in that man that I can't read.
Yeah? Well, you're a reporter, Gifford, not a detective. Powers didn't have nothing to do with these crashes. His job is to make that airplane company pay, and he can't do it by cracking ships up.
Just the same, Sergeant. He bears watching.
Yeah, well, you can watch Powers. I'm going out after that phony ranger that took those operation schedules and that dummy Magneto from us. I'll get him if it's the last thing
Fitz.
Yes, ma'am?
I want to get back to Metropolitan as soon as possible.
Yes, ma'am. Power's car is right over this way, Miss
Metropolitan Airport. No, Mr. Powers isn't in. He's expected back shortly. Yes, sir. I'll tell him you've called. Metropolitan? No, sir. We haven't located 655 yet. No, Mr. Powers isn't in. I'm sorry. I don't know, sir. Oh, Mr. Powers, I'm so glad you're back.
Yeah?
There have been so many calls for you. I told them I didn't know anything about Andy's ship yet.
Good. We've just come back from the canyon. The ship is a total loss. Andrews is missing.
Missing? You mean he...
I don't know anything yet, Maisie. Come in, Miss Delroy and Sergeant. Open the door to my office, Gifford. We'll go in there.
Right.
Oh, I suppose the newspapers are after me.
Yes, sir. They've all been calling. 655 is 8 hours overdue in Plainsview, and they want to know what's wrong.
Well, keep them guessing. We don't know anything ourselves, and I'll be hanged if I want a gang of reporters snooping around. One is bad enough.
Thanks, Powers.
We'll be in my office in case the directors call. I'm out to everyone else.
Yes, sir.
There's a private telephone on my desk there, Miss Delroy.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Get the telegraph office, sis.
Yes, ma'am.
Take a few notes, will you, Jimmy?
Right.
Transamerican has lost 4 valuable mail shipments. All 4 planes were lost in Devil's Canyon.
Here's the telegraph office, ma'am.
Good. Get Roberts, the radio man, in here, Fitz.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Take a message. Department of Commerce, Aeronautics Division, Washington, D.C. Ready? Here it is. Wire immediately names and addresses of all purchasers and licensees of auto gyros in western part of United States. Signed, Delroy, Department of Justice.
That's the stuff, Irene. That'll give us something to work from at least.
Wait a minute, Jimmy. Hold the wire a moment, will you?
If you'll pardon me, Miss Delroy,
Oh, just a second, Mr. Powers. You'll probably be interested in this next telegram. One more, please. Ready? Postmaster General, Post Office Department, Washington. Recommend all existing airmail contracts with Transamerican Airlines Incorporated be suspended, pending investigation of inability to maintain schedules. Signed, Delroy, Department of Justice.
Wait a minute. You can't do that. You can't send that telegram.
It's sent, Powers.
You can't do that. Do you want to ruin the company?
Sorry, Mr. Powers. Until this matter of looting the United States mail is cleared up, this department recommends the suspension of all airmail flying on your line.
But, Miss Delroy, just because we've had a little trouble...
We've had more than a little trouble, Powers. We've had far too much trouble. Now sit down. I want some information from you.
You've no right to suggest that our contract be suspended.
Sorry, Powers. It's already suggested. And I rather expect it'll be official before morning.
If it is, I'll carry it to the Supreme Court if necessary.
That's up to you. Right now, I want some information. Sit down, please.
All right. But you're ruining Transamerican Airlines.
And if these crashes keep up, we'll ruin the public confidence in aviation. Take some more notes on this, Jimmy.
Shoot, Irene.
Devil's Canyon is 90 miles from Metropolitan. How fast do these fast mails cruise, Powers?
About 180 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. 30 minutes flying time to the canyon. The eastbound left with Andrews in charge at 10:29. Is that right?
Yes.
At 11 o'clock, he was over the canyon. Is that right?
If he's on schedule, yes.
Jimmy, what time did we leave Salt Flats for Devil's Canyon?
11 o'clock, Irene.
And we arrived at the canyon just 45 minutes later,
Right. 11:45.
How long had we been at the scene of the crash, Jimmy, when Mr. Powers arrived?
Why, not over 15 minutes at the most.
That would make you arrive at approximately 12 o'clock, correct, Mr. Powers?
I believe it was 12 o'clock, yes.
And you say you started for the canyon when you heard Andrews report motor trouble.
Yes, naturally. I was worried. I knew of the money shipment.
Will you tell me, Mr. Powers, how you drove more than 90 miles of mountain road in your car in an hour's time?
Why...
Do you mean to tell me that you drove that road at 90 miles an hour?
No,
To arrive at Devil's Canyon at midnight, Mr. Powers, you had to leave here before Andrews' ship took off, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
I want the truth from you, Powers. You left before Andrews took off, or at about the same time, didn't you?
Well, yes. What about it?
And if you were driving along the road at 11, you didn't hear Andrews' radio for help, did you?
Well, no.
I want the truth now. What made you drive to Devil's Canyon tonight?
I.
You've been beating around the bush long enough, Powers. You either make a satisfactory answer to my question or I'll order your arrest.
My arrest? For what?
On suspicion of violating postal regulations.
You mean you believe I had a hand in those mail robberies? You can't mean that, Miss Delroy.
Oh, yes, I can. We're not overlooking a single thing in this case. You arrived at Devil's Canyon altogether too soon to have left after Andrews radioed for help. I want to know what made you take that drive.
You can't bluff me, Miss Delroy. You know that I didn't have anything to do with that robbery.
Prepare yourself for a shock, Mr. Powers. Robbery is no longer the main issue in this case.
No? Then, what is it?
Murder, Mr. Powers. Cool, deliberate murder.
What?
You heard me. Perhaps you'll be interested in knowing that Andrews was murdered not 5 minutes after he landed his ship in the canyon.
I can't believe
I
it.
know you thought it was a crash. Well, it wasn't. Andrews made a safe landing. He was sitting in the cockpit dead when we found him.
But the ship was burned.
A time bomb set fire to the ship a few minutes after we reached it, but not before we made a few discoveries.
What discoveries?
There was a time clock in the ignition circuit of that plane. Someone knew that Andrews would be right over that spot at 11. When the clock clicked, the ignition was cut off. I want you to tell me why you left for the canyon as soon as Andrews took off.
Aren't you a little hasty in accusing me of complicity in this crime, Miss Delroy? After all, I'm as anxious as you are to see the thing solved and the guilty parties convicted. I'm paid to run this airline, not to wreck it.
You're evading the question, Powers. Why did you leave Metropolitan for Devil's Canyon as soon as Andrews took off?
Because I figured he'd run into trouble, that's all.
You must have had some reason for that assumption.
I did.
What was it?
I told you I was interested in solving this case as you are, Miss Delroy.
Yes.
Well, I am. I'm even more interested. I've spent 5 years in building Transamerican from a barnstorming organization into one of the nation's greatest airlines. And I'm not going to let a band of mail thieves wreck my ideals. I've been doing a bit of investigating of my own.
Indeed.
Whether you believe me or not, I've progressed further into this mystery than you have. I at least have evidence that the work is being planned, if not actually executed, by an employee of this company.
Andrews?
What made you ask that?
Oh, I don't know. Just trying to frame a story for you. Andrews is dead, you know. You could tack the crime on him.
What you think makes no difference to me, Gifford.
To whom do you refer, Powers?
I have reason to believe that our radio man, Roberts, is in active touch with whoever is wrecking our ships.
Roberts? What makes you think that?
Several things, Miss Delroy. First, Roberts was found in my office when the operation schedules were stolen.
Yes?
Second, Roberts came out from under the influence of that gas all too suddenly.
Oh.
Then I found a key to my private office on Roberts' key ring.
Where's Roberts now?
You sent the sergeant for him when we first came in, Irene.
Oh, yes. You've neglected to answer my question, however, Powers. I still want to know why you drove to Devil's Canyon.
If you must know, I was following someone.
Who, Roberts?
No. A man I saw Robert speaking with tonight. Robert gave him a message.
What sort of a message?
A typewritten message on one of our telegraph blanks.
Did you see this message?
No, but I read the impression of the typewriter keys on the sheet of paper that was beneath it. It was quite legible.
Do you remember the contents?
Yes. It said, 6:55 will be over the canyon at 11.
No signature?
No.
Then how do you know Roberts wrote it?
I saw him. Saw him write it. Put it in an envelope and hand it to the man.
You followed this man to the canyon?
I tried to, but unfortunately I lost him.
We're going to check up on your story, Powers. We're going to face Roberts with these facts and ask for an explanation.
Miss Delroy, quick.
What is it, Fitz?
I found him, ma'am, but he's dead. Looks like he killed himself with this gun.
Who, Fitz?
Roberts, the radio operator.
Miss Irene Delroy of the Department of Justice and her assistant, Sergeant Fitzgerald, are working night and day on the airmail mystery, which concerns the wrecking and robbing of Transamerican Airlines' fastest airmail plane. Jimmy Gifford, roving newspaper reporter, attracted by the mysterious crashes, has been assisting Miss Delroy and Fitzgerald. Ernest Powers, general manager of Transamerican Lines, reveals to Miss Delroy that he has been conducting investigations of his own following the crashing of 655, piloted by Andy Andrews, crack mail flyer, who was killed by the mail thieves shortly after he was forced down in Devil's Canyon. Powers' investigation has implicated Roberts, the radio operator in charge of Metropolitan Airport. Miss Delroy sends Sergeant Fitzgerald to bring Roberts to the offices for questioning when Fitzgerald reports,
He's dead, ma'am. Stone dead. A suicide.
You can't mean that, Fitz.
It's true. I just seen him. He's in his room, ma'am.
Oh, there must be something wrong. Are you sure it's Robert?
Sure, I know Robert. He plugged himself. Square between the eyes. I came right back here to notify you. You want to go up there, won't you, ma'am?
Certainly, Fitz. Where's Robert's room?
Right between the signal tower and the radio room, ma'am, on the third floor.
Powers. Wasn't he supposed to be on duty tonight?
Why, yes, he was.
Does he live upstairs?
Yes, we've fitted out a room for him so he could be near the set. Since we've started night operations on such a large scale, we've had to keep him around most of the time.
Don't you have a relief operator?
Yes, he comes on at 7 in the morning.
I see. Well, lead the way, Fitz. We'll call for the coroner when we finish our investigation. Coming, Jimmy?
Surely, Irene.
Mr. Powers?
If you don't mind, I'll stay down here. I'm rather, that is,
Very well. Go ahead, Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something mysterious here. I want to see why Roberts decided to take the easy way out.
Yes, ma'am. You know, I thought it was sort of funny myself. This way, ma'am, up these stairs here.
These steps also lead to the signal tower?
Yes, ma'am. Roberts lives in this wing here. Here's the room, ma'am. He's inside.
And the door's locked, Fitz.
Yes, ma'am, I locked it. Here's the key, ma'am.
Very good, Sergeant. Was the door locked when you first came up?
No, ma'am. I knocked a couple of times and didn't get no answer, so I just went in.
He doesn't seem to... Oh, there we are. Now, don't move a thing, Fitz.
No, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Just as I thought. Close the door, Jimmy.
What's wrong, ma'am?
Nothing's wrong, Sergeant. Just a hunch. Turn on that extra light over the bed, Jimmy.
Right.
Did you change this man's position, Fitz?
No, ma'am. I turned his head a little to make sure it was him.
He's dead, all right. There's no doubt about that, Irene. Right between the eyes. Nasty job, too. Look at the size of that hole.
You can spare the details, Jimmy. What I mean is, you didn't change Robert's position on the floor.
No, ma'am, I just... Say, that guy was laying on his face before.
What do you mean, Fitz?
I mean, Roberts was laying face downward when I came downstairs to get you.
Are you sure, Sergeant?
Yes, ma'am. I turned his head a bit to make sure it was Roberts, but I didn't turn his whole body. Holy mackerel, look. His pockets have been emptied.
Right, Sergeant. Also his inside coat pocket. A hasty job, too.
Say, what's going on around here?
Take it easy, Sergeant. Was that window open when you first came in this room?
I don't remember, ma'am.
I rather believe it was closed. Oh, don't touch it, Jimmy. It may contain fingerprints.
You mean Roberts wasn't a suicide?
Did I say that, Jimmy?
Well, no, but...
It's bad practice to jump at conclusions, even in this business. Let's take a look at things. When I sent you to look for Roberts, Fitz, where did you go?
I went downstairs to the radio room, but there wasn't anybody there, so I looked out on the grounds, and there wasn't nobody there either. Well, I called the hangar, and the night mechanic said Roberts hadn't been there since he'd serviced the 9 o'clock plane.
Oh, what, Fitz? Don't take all night.
Well, so I asked the switchboard dame where he was, and she says, "Ain't he with you?" "No, he ain't with us," I tells her. So then she says he was up in his room a few minutes ago, and so I comes up here, and I find him.
You said the door was open.
Yes, ma'am.
With the lights on?
Yes, ma'am. Except the one we turned on just now.
And you don't remember about the window?
No, ma'am.
How about this closet door, Fitz? Was it open or closed?
Closed, just like it is now.
Did you open it?
No, ma'am. I went right downstairs to get you.
Too bad, Fitz. Had you opened that door, you'd probably come face to face with someone who could have given us a little light on this mystery.
You think that somebody killed Roberts and then hid in that closet?
I didn't say he killed Roberts. Robert's death may or may not be suicide, but I do know that somebody has been in this closet. He may still be in there for all we know.
Yeah?
Open the door, Jimmy, and stand back.
It's empty, Irene.
Just a minute, Jimmy. I'm going to step into that closet. Mm-hmm. I was right, Sid. Someone had been in his closet for quite a while. Feel the temperature in here.
Oh, you can't tell that way, ma'am. You've got to look for cigarettes and papers.
That's all right in its place, Sid, but I know definitely that someone has been hiding in his closet for quite some time. Oh, it's close in here. Too bad you didn't open the door of his closet, Sid.
Do you think Roberts was killed, Irene?
I don't know. The sergeant told us it was suicide. How did you figure that out, Sid?
Well, ma'am, the gun was right in his hand, and there's powder marks on his face. And here's the customary suicide note on his smoking stand.
Oh, a note.
Read it, ma'am. Maybe you can figure it out.
Addressed to Powers.
What does it say?
It says, Powers, I've been deceiving you long enough. I am the one who has been tipping the mail thieves to valuable shipments on our planes. Andrew's death tonight was too much for me. I didn't intend to be connected with murder. Send my company insurance to my wife.
No signature?
No signature. Did you check this handwriting, Fitz?
Not yet, ma'am.
Take it downstairs and check it with Robert's report.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Sergeant,
Yes, ma'am.
tell that switchboard operator to come up here.
Yes, ma'am.
What can I do, Irene?
You might see if there's anything left in Robert's pockets, Jimmy, while I use his phone.
Okay.
Hello. Give me Powers' office, please. Look in the vest pockets, too, Jimmy. Hello, Powers. We're upstairs. I want you to call out the entire night force at once. Have them search the grounds and buildings around the airport for any strange characters and bring anyone they find here. Understand? Good. Give me an outside line, please. What's that, Jimmy?
A notebook, Irene. I found it in the vest pocket.
Save it a minute. Hello, operator. Get me police headquarters. What type of a notebook is it? Hello. I want to speak to the night captain in charge of homicide. Yes. Hello? This is Irene Delroy, Department of Justice. Code, Cantrix. Right. Look, we're out at Transamerican offices at Metropolitan Airport. There's been a man killed here tonight. It may be suicide. And again, it may not be. I want you to send us your best fingerprint man and a photographer. That's right. Let's see that notebook, Jimmy. Roberts was mixed up in those robberies. Look at these notations.
What are they, Irene?
Expense figures. Listen. Salary the $15, $75. Rent $35. Groceries $30. Furniture payment $7.50. Do you think Roberts would be figuring small items like those if he was getting a cut on the mail robberies?
Doesn't seem right, does it?
Not to me, Jimmy. That's probably the telephone operator. Put that screen in front of Robert's body, Jimmy. I don't want her to faint before we can question her.
Right. Her name's Maisie. I heard Powers with us.
Thanks. You're Maisie, aren't you? Yes, ma'am. Come in, please. I'm Irene Delroy. We're working on a little matter with the Department of Justice. I want you to help us about a few things. Will you answer some questions?
Well, I'll be glad to.
Thank you. What time did you last see Mr. Roberts, the radio operator?
Just a few minutes before you and Mr. Powers and Mr. Fitzgerald came back from the canyon.
How long before?
About 10 minutes.
Where was he at that time?
Downstairs at the control panel.
He left the room shortly after?
Yes. He said he was coming up here to his room.
Did he give any reason for coming up here?
No.
Did he say anything to you that would make you think there was something important waiting for him up here?
No.
Did he say anything at all that was unusual?
No. He,
What were you going to say?
well, he said if Mr. Powers came in to give him a ring.
And did you?
Yes. I called him about 5 minutes after Mr. Powers came in.
Did he answer the phone?
Yes. That is, I think it was he.
Why? Didn't you recognize his voice?
It seemed rather strange, Miss Delroy. Of course, he may be sleeping already.
What did he say?
I told him that Mr. Powers was back, and he said all right.
Is that all?
Yes, just all right.
Now, Maisie, I want you to think hard on this question. It's very important. Did Robert say anything to you that would give you any idea what he wanted to talk to Mr. Powers about?
No. Nothing that I can remember.
Did he act as if you were worried about something?
No. He seemed, well, angry.
Indeed. And he asked to see Powers?
Yes. What happened?
Never mind right now, Maisie. You get back to the switchboard and don't mention to anyone that Robert is missing.
Yes, Miss Delroy.
Oh, just a minute. You said the voice that answered this telephone didn't sound like Robert's.
Yes.
Did you recognize it as belonging to anyone here at the airport?
No, Miss Delroy.
That'll be all. Thank you.
Well, you didn't get anywhere with her, did you, Irene?
Oh, I don't know, Jimmy. At least I fixed the time of Robert's murder.
Murder?
That's what I said, Jimmy. There's no doubt about it.
But, Irene,
Of course the evidence is a bit lacking, but mark my words, someone waited for Roberts in this room and for some reason killed him.
You think that Roberts was mixed up in these robberies?
That remains to be seen. I do know, however, that he was killed deliberately.
And your reason?
Just guesswork so far, Jimmy. There may have been something in this room that Roberts needed. He came up here, probably spent a few minutes getting whatever he came after. Then he walks over and opens the door of his closet and gets a bullet right between the eyes.
And the murderer?
Drags Robert's body away from the door, puts the gun in his hand, and starts looking for whatever he came after. The telephone rings. He's afraid not to answer. And he just says, all right, and hangs up. Before he's finished, the sergeant knocks on the door, and he has to duck back into the closet.
You mean that he was in that closet when the sergeant entered the room?
Yes. And it's probably just as well that the sergeant didn't open the door, or he'd probably be with Roberts. Jimmy, this whole business is a mixed-up... Hello. What's that? You see it. We'll see right away. Quick, Jimmy, that was Powers.
Yes?
He says there's someone fooling around in the radio room up here.
What?
He says he heard the set go on the air, and there's no one downstairs at the panel. Whoever it is must be in the room right next to us.
You suppose it could be
I don't know, Jimmy. We're not going to take any chances. We're going into that room and find out. Have your gun ready. If he makes any move at all, shoot, and shoot to kill.
Hi, this is Andrew from OTRWesterns.com. I wanted to invite you to come take a look at our site where we put out podcasts of old-time radio westerns. Check us out at OTRWesterns.com. You're listening to The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio with Adam Graham. Now let's get back into the show.
Welcome back. Well, I think that what happened in part 7 was pretty well filled in, so I don't feel like we missed too much. Certainly Powers showed up, and they got the clue as to how the criminals were getting in and out of the canyon. We will also not have part 10, which is definitely unfortunate given the way this episode ends. But I still think this is can still be followed, and we're dealing with an 85-year-old program, so we're lucky to have 11 of 13 parts, including the climax for this one. Irene Delroy just continues to be enjoyable to listen to. I think this episode she just did a great job taking charge and laying down the law. Powers, the story really does feel like it's got some great forward momentum. All right, listener comments and feedback now. Daniel writes in, on Facebook, who plays the role of Powers. His voice sounds very familiar. It sounds somewhat familiar to me, but I really can't place it. It's a voice actor guessing is always a challenge. I think it's doubly a challenge with New York voice actors, because it seems like so many of the programs that survive don't actually have full cast list included, as opposed to the Hollywood programs, which were more likely, though certainly it wasn't a universal thing, to have a listing of all the cast in there. So I don't know if any listeners out there are available. Shoot us an email, box13@greatdetectives.net. All right, well, that's all for now. If you do have a comment, send it to us, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. We'll be back tomorrow with Rocky Jordan. Next week, we will wrap up Airmail Mystery with a special conclusion with 3 parts in it. And then join us the Tuesday after that for the return of Manhunt. We have some newly discovered episodes, so I hope you'll enjoy that. But from now, from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.